These are the Geometry Unit 2 test corrections for parallel lines. If you need to correct any part of question number 1, then you'll need to draw this diagram and the angle pair that you are naming. You have to do this for each part of question 1 that you missed. All right, so the first part, we have to identify the special angle pair name for angle 7 and angle 15. Here's angle 7. Here's angle 15. The first thing you need to do is get your magic paper, and you need to get rid of the line that is the distractor. We don't need any part of line P to be able to name the relationship between angle 7 and angle 15. All right, angle 7 and angle 15 slide and match up with each other. So angle 7 and angle 15 are corresponding angles. The next part is angle 3 and angle 12. Here's angle 3, here's angle 12. We don't need any part of line Q this time to be able to tell the relationship between angle 3 and angle 12. Angle 3 and angle 12 are both on the interior of line W and V. They are on the same side of transversal P. Therefore, angle 3 and angle 12 are same side interior angles. Or they could be called consecutive interior angles. You need to know both names. Okay, part 3 of question number 1, we have to identify the relationship between angle 4 and angle 14. Right, there is no one line that I can get rid of to be able to focus just on angle 4 and 14. I would have to get rid of part of 2 different lines. Angle 4 and 14 are not connected by one single transversal. Okay, there is no transversal that connects 4 to 14. Therefore, angle 4 and 14 have no special relationship. All right, part 4, angle 3 and angle 9. Here's angle 3, here's angle 9. We don't need any part of line Q to see angle 3 and angle 9. 3 and 9 are in between line W and line V. They're in the interior. They are on alternating sides of the transversal. So angle 3 and angle 9 are alternate interior angles. Right, the next angle pair that we have to identify are angle 10 and angle 15. Here's angle 10, here's angle 15. We don't need line W. 10 and 15 are both in the exterior of line P and Q. They are on the same side of the transversal. Here's 10, here's 15. So angle 10 and angle 15 are same side exterior angles. Or we have to know the other name. They're also called consecutive exterior angles. Right, the next angle pair that we have to identify are angle 6 and angle 8. Here's 6, here's 8. They're in the same little cluster of angles. So that means they're either a linear pair or vertical angles. Angle 6 and angle 8 are directly across from each other. That means they are vertical angles. The next angle pair relationship we have to identify is angle 13 and angle 16. They are in the same little cluster of 4. That means they're either vertical angles or linear pair. Angle 13 and angle 16 are side by side. They make a straight line when you put their two sides together. So these are called a linear pair. And next we have angle 2 and angle 8. Here's angle 2. Here's angle 8. We do not need line V. That's our distractor, so let's get rid of it. Angle 2 and angle 8 are both in the exterior for line P and line Q. 2 and 8 are on alternating sides of the transversal. So if you put that all together, angle 2 and angle 8 are identified as alternate exterior angles. All right, now question number 2. Label the statement as true or false. If false, provide the correct wording for the underlined section. If two lines cut by a transversal or parallel, then alternating interior angles are congruent. Y'all, all you have to do is check your green sheet. If lines are parallel, then alternate interior angles are congruent is a true statement. If you have parallel lines, then alternate interior angles are congruent. Question number 3. Label the statement as true or false. If false, provide the correct wording for the underlined section. Two lines cut by a transversal or parallel if and only if alternating exterior angles are supplementary. That statement is false. We know that if lines are parallel, then alternate exterior angles are congruent. So you would want to correct the word supplementary with the word congruent. Question number 4. Label the statement as true or false. If false, provide the correct wording for the underlined section. If two lines cut by a transversal are parallel, then consecutive interior angles are congruent. This statement is false. If lines are parallel, then consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So you would have wanted to correct the word congruent to be supplementary. Question number 5. Label the statement as true or false. If false, provide the correct wording for the underlined section. Two lines cut by a transversal are parallel if and only if consecutive exterior angles are supplementary. That is a true statement. We know that if we have parallel lines, then consecutive exterior angles are supplementary. No correction is necessary because this was true. Okay, question number 6. Determine each angle measure if the measure of angle 3 is 75 and the measure of angle 14 is 86. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is get my purple pen and I'm going to highlight my parallel lines in purple. Then I'm going to fill in all the other angle measures in each little cluster. All right, if angle 3 is 75, then angle 1 is also 75 because vertical angles are always congruent. To find angle 2 and angle 4, you have to subtract. 180 minus 75 would be 105 degrees. Angle 4 is 105. Angle 2 is 105. Now, our rule is we have to move from a purple parallel to another purple parallel. So we're going to take these 4 angle measures and move them over to 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, next, we are going to find this little cluster of angles, 13, 14, 15, and 16. We know that vertical angles are congruent. Since angle 14 is 86, that means angle 16 is also 86 degrees. To find the other 2 measurements, we subtract 180 minus 86, and that will leave us with 94 degrees. Angle 15 is 94 degrees. Angle 13 is 94 degrees. We move from parallel to parallel, from purple to purple. So we're going to move these 4 angle measures over to angles 9, 10, 11, and 12. Angle 9 would be 94 degrees. 10 would be 86. 11 would be 94 degrees. And 12 would be 86 degrees. Now fill in your answers. The measure of angle 5 would be 75 degrees. The measure of angle 6 would be 105 degrees. The measure of angle 9 would be 94 degrees. And the measure of angle 10 would be 86 degrees. Number 7, what value of x will prove that line A is parallel to line B? All right, so I'm going to get and use my colors, my little X strategy. I see that 73 is on pink for me. And I see my algebra 6x plus 35 is on blue for me. All right, I know that if 2 angles are on opposite colors, then they are going to add up together to equal 180. Whoops. Let me get my writing utensil working. So my equation would be 6x plus 35 plus 73 equals 180. All right, I'm going to pause for just a minute and go get my Desmos calculator, and I'm going to use Desmos to solve for x. And I got x equals 12. You had to show your equation for this problem to receive full credit. You have to provide the work to justify your answer. All right, let's see. Next, we have number 8. All right, if line J is parallel to line K, then which of the following represents the measure of angle ABC? So we have to find from the A to the B to the C. Let me make this just a little bit bigger. All right, so we taught you the fall in love strategy for this. Okay, here's the beginning of my heart. We have to take the numbers that are outside of the heart and let them fall in. So the 70 is going to fall in to be the top part of angle ABC's measure. Now we have a small problem. So we don't know the measure for this part right here. But I do know that these two add up to 180. 180 minus 150 would be 30. So this angle BC, whatever it is, would be 30 degrees. Okay, we're going to let that measure fall in. See our heart we just made? Fall in love with their heart. And then to get the measure of angle ABC, you simply add those two numbers together. 70 plus 30 gives us 100. The measure of angle ABC is 100 degrees. Many of you had that answer, but you didn't show your work to justify your answer. You have to show your work so we know how you got your answer. All right, question number 9. The figure represents a ramp with handrails, and they tell us all of these segments that are parallel to each other. And down here, they give us that the measure of angle JCB is 105. So let's start by filling that in. From the J to the C to the B is 105. All right. They tell us in the given information that segment AG, let me decrease this just a little bit, segment AG, segment BH, and segment CJ are all parallel. Okay, so let me get my purple highlighter. Here's AG, here's BH, and here is CJ. They're all parallel. All right, I need to focus on this part right here, this transversal from B to C. I know that angle JCB right here is same side interior with angle CBH right here. If lines are parallel, then same side interior angles are supplementary. That means they add up to 180. So to find angle CBH right here, we're going to do 180 minus 105, which will give us 75 degrees. Okay, now let's keep working. Because for the final answer, we need to find angle CBA from the C to the B to the A. We have part of that angle. We have 75. Now we got 75 over here. Now we have to figure out what this measurement is on the other side. All right, to do that, we're going to look at the next parallel lines. Let me get rid of this. All right, they told us in the beginning that line AB, look right up here. Oh, I should have used a different color. Let me try again. Line AB, DE, and GH are all parallel. I know that I know angle GHB is 90 degrees. Right down here is 90. All right. That means the angle ABH would also be 90 because angle ABH right here, and angle GHB are same side interior angles. Okay, same rule we used before. But this time, to find the measure of the missing angle, we're going to do 180 minus 90. Y'all, that little square down here means right angle, 90. 180 minus 90 would leave us with 90 degrees. So the measure of angle ABH is 90 degrees. Now remember our goal. Let me get rid of all of this highlighting now. Okay, our goal was to find the measure of angle CBA. We now have the two measures that are at that vertex point. To find the measure of angle CBA, we add 190 plus 75, which would be 165 degrees. That would be answer choice D. Again, some of you correctly had the answer, but you didn't show your work, so you didn't get full credit. You have to fill all the measures in the diagram like I did, and you have to show your calculations. All right, let's see what we have next. Number 10. Based on the diagram below, which two lines are parallel? All right, so to find out which two lines are parallel, you fill in all the angle measures in each cluster. All right, first little cluster. If this angle is 110, I know the vertical angle is 110. 180 minus 110 will give us 70. So the other two angles are 70 degrees. All right, next little cluster. Okay, I know the angle across from 85 degrees, its vertical angle is also 85. To find the other two, you do 180 minus 85, which would leave us with 95 degrees for the other two angles in that group. All right, next we have the cluster on with the 70. All right, we know vertical angles are congruent, so we can fill in our 70. 180 minus 70 would be 110. So the other two angle measures in that little group measure 110. And last, we can fill in by the 95. We know that the vertical angle would be 95 degrees. And if we subtract 180 minus 95, we get 85 degrees. All right, now you go look for the clusters that have the same angle measures in the exact same places. That means they correspond. And if corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. All right, so let's look for the exact same measurements. Okay, I see this cluster has 110s and 70s. The 110 is at the top left. This cluster also has 110s and 70s. The 110 is on the top left. Okay. That makes line A parallel to line C. That would be the only pair of parallel lines. These two sections were close, but up here, the 85 was at the top left, and over here, the 85 was on the top right. They weren't in the same places. They didn't correspond correctly. So we cannot say that angle line D was parallel to line E. Okay. Okay, there we go. I think I've got my screen too big. That's better. All right, next we have question number 11. 4 lines and 4 congruent angles are identified in the diagram. Which statement must be true? And all of these have to do with parallel lines. So we're going to do like we did in the last example, and we're going to fill in angle measurements for all the missing angles. All right, I know that in this little cluster, I have a 91.1, so its vertical angle would be 91.1 degrees. All right, in this little cluster, I'm going to do 91.1 for the vertical angle. Same thing down here. And finally, right there. Now, we could fill in the missing angle measures, but we actually have enough with what we have. You need to get your magic paper. You need to get rid of one of the transversals. And you compare what you have left. Do the measurements that they gave us slide down and match up for line P and line Q? Look, y'all, this 91.1 is on the top right. In this little group, it's on the top right. So yes, they slide and match up and correspond. And if corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So we definitely have that line P is parallel to line Q. All right, now there we go. Check out another section. All right, so I'm going to get rid of one of my horizontal transversals. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to get rid of the bottom. All right, let's check out these two little groups. Okay, does this cluster of angles slide over and match up perfectly with the cluster on line N? Okay, this 91.1 is on the top right. This 91.1 is on the top left. They do not match up. Therefore, line M is not parallel to line N. The only two lines that are parallel are line P and line Q. That would be answer choice C. Question number 12. Given the measure of angle 1 is 2x plus 30, and the measure of angle 2 is 4x minus 90. All right, I'm going to go get my colors. We want to find the value of x and the measures of angle 1 and 2 that will verify that line M is parallel to line P. All right, so that's what we want in the end. So we can use our x strategy. Right, I see that 2x plus 30 is on pink. 4x minus 90 is also on pink. Right, if two angles are on the same color, they are equal to each other. So we're going to set 4x minus 90 equal to 2x plus 30. And if we solve that, y'all please use Desmos to help you solve. I saw so many of you set this up correctly, but then made a careless algebra mistake and you didn't get the right answer. Okay, if you want to solve it by hand, that's great, but please double check with Desmos. All right, so let me go ahead. If we solve this, we would get x equals 60. All right, now to find the measure of the angles, y'all, we don't want you to come in here and put in 2x plus 30. That's the algebra. We want the real angle measure. To find the real angle measure, you take out the x and you plug in the 60. So angle 1 would be 2 times 60 plus 30. And that would be 150 degrees. The measure of angle 2 would be 4 times 60 minus 90. And that would also be 150 degrees. All right, that's it. All right, let's see, what do we have next? It says question 13, Main Street and Broad Street are parallel lines. So we'll get my purple. Find the value of x and the value of y. All right, we have algebra, so I'm going to use my X strategy with my different colors. All right, now you've got to ask yourself, do you have more X's or more Y's in this problem? I have more not equations, I have more X expressions, so I want to start by focusing on the X algebra. Okay, 10x minus 4 is on pink. 8x plus 10 is on pink. If they're on the same color, you set them equal. And you can solve this algebra by hand, but please double check in Desmos. Make sure you get the right answer. You should get for this answer x equals 7. Now, to move forward to find the value of y, you need to take this 7 and go substitute it to find the real angle measures. All right, so let me do that. This angle up here would be 10 times 7 minus 4. That would be 66 degrees. Okay, this angle measure down here would be 8 times 7 plus 10. That would be 66 degrees. Now we look to see what color our Y algebra is on. Y is on pink for me. So it's going to be equal to any other pink. So my equation for y would be 9y plus 12 equals 66. All right, once again, you may solve by hand, but please double check with Desmos. All right, if you solve this, you would get y equals 6. Okay, I have to double check because I did that in my head real quick. 9 times 6 is 54. 54 plus 12 is 66. Okay, I was right. So the answer's here. X equals 7, Y equals 6, but you had to show your work to justify your answer. All right, next, let's see what we have. Question number 14. Find the value of x so that line P will be parallel to line Q. All right, so we want to make these parallel. Okay, y'all, if you don't want to use the X strategy, you can use your rules. These angles are same side interior. And if same side interior angles are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. So you're going to add them up to 180. Okay, but if you have a hard time remembering all the rules, please come through and use your colors. Okay, look, there's my pink. Here's my blue. This algebra is on pink. This algebra is on blue. If they're on different colors, they add up together to equal 180. All right, I'm going to take just a minute to go solve this. And our answer is x equals 12. It said find the value of x. X equals 12. All right. Let me get this so we can see the proof and the diagram. All right, let's start by reading the given. Given angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. Here's where I am. And angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. We have to prove that line A is parallel to line B and line C is parallel to line D. All right, let's go through this proof and see what we can do. All right, step number 1. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. I see that that's up here in my given. So the reason for number 1 would be given. Now you're going to go mark those angles in your diagram. You're going to get your magic paper and you're going to cover up the part of this diagram that you don't need. Angle 1 and angle 2 are alternate interior angles. And if you check your green sheet, it says, yes, alternate interior angles being congruent will make lines parallel. Well, which two lines are showing that are definitely parallel? A and B. All right, so let's look at statement number 2. It says that line A is parallel to line B. Look, we had that right up here. And the reason why is because alternate interior angles are congruent. All right, let's get rid of all of the things that we did to help us take care of statement number 2. All right, now let's look to see that for statement number 3, they say angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. Well, look, y'all, that was up here in our given. So the reason for number 3 is given. Now, once again, we're going to go get that magic paper and we're going to focus only on angle 2 and angle 3. Here's angle 2. Here's angle 3. Right now, we don't need any part of line A. All right, you want to ask yourself, what kind of angles are angle 2 and angle 3? They are same side exterior angles. And if they are supplementary, then yes, we have parallel lines. What two lines are showing right now that we know are definitely parallel? Well, it would be line C and line D. All right, so let's see what we have to fill in for statement number 4's reason. Why were lines C and D parallel? Y'all, let's look back up here and see why. Those lines were parallel because same side exterior angles were supplementary. All right, now I'm going to shrink this and make sure that all of these answers are down here and available for us to choose. All right, number 1, given, was right here. Number 2, alternate interior angles are congruent. That was available for us to use as a reason in our proof. Okay, number 3, given. Yep. And finally, number 4, same side exterior angles are supplementary. That was one of the reasons that were given. Okay, so we have our entire proof completed. All of our reasons were available in the answer choice options. So we are finished with the proof and ready to move on. All right, let me go back and make this bigger again for us. All right, it says, if line AC is parallel to line DF and the measure of angle CBE, look y'all, that would be from the C to the B to the E, is 5x minus 60, and the measure of angle DEB from the D to the E to the B is 2x, then what is the measure of angle DEH? From the D to the E to the H. We know that's going to be our final answer. All right, since we have parallel lines, we can use our X strategy. All right, so I see my algebra. They're each on pink. So I'm going to set 5x minus 60 equal to 2x. And if you solve that correctly, you're going to get x equals 20. And it's real tempting to come down here and pick that 20 is your answer, but it's not. We have to answer the question that they're asking. They want us to find the measure of angle DEH. So we have to take that 20 and we have to plug it in. All right, so first of all, let's plug it in up here for the 5x minus 60. All right, 5 times 20 is 100. 100 minus 60 would be 40. All right, we also have to plug it in for the 2x right here. Okay, 2 times 20 is 40. All right, they are equal like they're supposed to be, so that makes me feel really good about all of my calculations so far. That means that every single pink angle in this diagram would be 40 degrees. But we don't need a pink angle, we need a blue angle. We know that pink and blue add up to 180. So to get angle DEH, we take 180 minus 40. That means the measure of angle DEH would be 140 degrees, which is answer choice D. Okay, some of you got that right as far as choosing the correct answer, but you didn't show your work, so you didn't receive full credit. Once again, you have to show all of your calculations to justify your answer to receive full credit. Okay, number 17. Which equivalence will prove that line A is parallel to line B? All right, y'all, for this one, you kind of just go through and you have to say yes or no if they make parallel lines. On the back of one of your green sheets, it says, yes, lines will be parallel if alternate interior angles are congruent, alternate exterior angles are congruent, corresponding angles are congruent, same side interiors are supplementary, same side exteriors are supplementary. Okay, if it's not one of these 5, then we have to put no. All right, so let's start. It says angle 4 and angle 6 add up to 180. Okay, they are same side interior angles. They are being supplementary, so this one here would be a yes. All right, now let's try the next one. Angle 7 and angle 8 add up to 180. That's a true statement because they make a linear pair, but a linear pair is not in our 5 options to make parallel lines. So this one would be a no. C, angle 5 and angle 8 are congruent. That's true because vertical angles are always congruent, but vertical angles are not in our list to make parallel lines. So that would be a no. And finally, D. Angle 1 and angle 6 are equal to each other. Well, y'all, to do this one, we have to use our colors because they have no special relationship. All right, so let's use our little X. All right, angle 1 is on pink. Angle 6 is on blue. They should be adding up to be 180. They're being equal, not adding up to 180, so that would be a no. The only correct answer to make parallel lines for this problem would be A, that angle 4 and angle 6 add up to equal 180. All right, question number 18. What angle pair relationship is being modeled? What does it create? Y'all, you've got to get in the habit of answering these questions thoroughly. Let's start by taking this question and rewriting it as a statement. The angle pair relationship being modeled is congruent corresponding angles. Check. Okay, look, this angle slides and matches up. They definitely are corresponding angles. And the construction was congruent angles. Now, part 2. What does it create? If corresponding angles are congruent, then lines are parallel. So let's answer the question in a sentence. Okay, it creates parallel lines. We've answered both parts of the question, so we're done with number 18. All right, question number 20. In the image below, the measure of angle JHF is 95, which would show that lines S and T are not parallel. All right, so y'all, I'm just going to use my colors once again because I want to kind of go backwards. I want to make lines parallel and then see which one of these did not do that. All right, so I know that all of my pink angles in this diagram would be 95 if the lines are parallel. All right, let's come back through. Okay, to find all of the other angle measures, I would do 180 minus 95. All of the other angle measures would be 85 degrees. All right, now we're looking for the no. We're looking for the ones where that disagree with the measurements we've put into this diagram. All right, answer choice A. Measure of angle 1 is 95. Okay, that was true. If the lines are parallel, that was true. B, measure of angle 3 was 95. No, y'all, if these lines are parallel, then corresponding angles would have to be congruent. 95 would make those two lines not parallel. All right, let's keep checking. Sometimes they let us pick more than one answer. C, measure of angle 2 is 95. Yep, that's true. And finally, measure of angle 4 is 95. That's also true. The only one that would not make the lines parallel would be B, Measure of angle 3 is 95. And we're done. Okay. Question number 20. In the diagram below, which could be proved that line S is parallel to line T and line A is parallel to line B? All right, I'm going to show you why the correct answer works. You've got to get your magic paper and mark your angles. All right, the answer that works is D. Angle 1 is supplementary to angle 6. I'm sorry, y'all, totally misread that. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 6. And angle 2 and 3 are supplementary. All right, let's focus on why that works. All right, so you've got to get your magic paper again. Angle 1 and 6. We don't need any part of line T to be looking at angle 1 and angle 6. You have to decide what kind of angles are they. They are corresponding angles. And if corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. Which two lines are showing that are being proved parallel at this moment? A and B. Okay, halfway there. Now let's start with a clean picture. And this time, D says angle 2 and angle 3 are supplementary. Okay, so let's look at angle 2 and angle 3. All right, let's get that magic paper. We don't need any part of line B. All right, angle 2 and angle 3 are same side interior angles. And if they are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. Which two lines are left showing that are parallel? Line S is parallel to line T. All right, now let's go back and check. Did we prove everything that they wanted us to? Okay, it said in the diagram, which could be used to prove that line S, come on, is parallel to T. We have that one. And line A is parallel to line B. We have that one. Y'all, none of the others would prove it. If you need me to go over why A, B, and C don't work, please see me individually. For test corrections, I only showed you the one that did work and why. All right, and yep, I thought this was our last question. Here we go. All right, so we have to go through and say for each multiple choice kind of answer, are the lines parallel or are they not parallel? Okay, to do that, let's make this picture even bigger. We need to fill in all the angle measures. Okay, so I know that beside a 108, I would subtract from 180 and get 72. If I extend that transversal, I can fill in the measures on the other side. And that little cluster is done. All right, I'm going to go up here to the top because I can see some 108s and I can fill in, come on, I can fill in my 72s. Look, 108, 72, and 72. All right, feeling pretty good. All right, here for segment ED, all right, I can fill in 52. To find the other two angles, I would do 180 minus 52, and I get 128. And last, I can extend segment HG, fill in my 52. Y'all, I just did that subtraction. Thank goodness I don't have to do it again. And I have 128 for those missing angle measures. All right, now let's look to see. Is line AG, where's that? Right here, here's the G. Is line AG parallel to line FH? All right, if I extend line FH, it will eventually meet with transversal CB. But y'all, there are no angle measures up here to match with these. So that's not working out so much for us. Let's get rid of that. And we're going to put that line AG is not parallel to line FH. All right, let's check out the next one, BC. All right, I'm ready. Okay, line BC is right here. Line GH is right here. They are connected by a transversal. Okay, do the measures on this yellow line match the measures on that yellow line? Nope. These are 72s and 108s. These are 52s and 128s. So this one would be is not. All right. I'm not feeling so good because I haven't gotten an answer yet that's a yes, but y'all, sometimes they're tricky like that. So let's keep going. All right, now we want to do BC and DE. See if we can find those. BC is right here. Come on. DE is this one right here. All right, let's see. Do they have the same measures? I feel like I just did that one. But I didn't, because I can see my yellow there. I did the right one. I did BC and GH. I can still see the yellow. Y'all, I got a little confused because we have the same problem. Look, these are 108s and 72s. These are 128s and 52s. They're not working out for us. To make lines parallel, they have to have the same angle measures in their little groups. All right. Let's see what we have last. Line DE, right here, is parallel to line GH, right here. All right. Finally, we have two sets of angles that do match. Okay, these are corresponding angles. If corresponding angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So line DE is parallel to line GH, and that is the only correct answer for this question. And that's the end of the Unit 2 test corrections video. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Remember, to earn back your test correction points, you have to show all the work that I showed in the video. Thank you very much.